If you've ever asked a financial professional when you should claim Social Security, there's a good chance you heard something like, wait as long as you can, wait till age 70. I've actually told people that before. For a lot of retirees, it can be reasonable advice. The math supports it often, but this is all based off assumptions. And when those assumptions don't apply to your situation, the answer can change significantly. So today we're going to look at the Social Security claiming decision that everyone is so concerned about. We're going to go over it more completely than most regular conversations do and what the media won't tell you. We're going to cover how the mechanics work. The break-even concept is only part of the picture. The key risk factors that can shift the claiming age, what married couples need to be aware of, and yeah, some situations to claim early. I knew you'd like that one. So let's get into it. Welcome everyone to the Functional Retirement Podcast. I'm Thatcher Taylor, certified financial planner and owner of ProPath Financial, where I specialize in retirement planning for clients such as yourself. We're going to talk about what retirement planning actually looks like in practice. And today's big topic is Social Security. So a quick disclosure, nothing is personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. Please find a planner before making any decisions about your own strategies, specifically Social Security, because there's no coming back from it. So let's talk about one of the most frequently asked questions in all of retirement planning. We're going to start it off with this. When do I claim? But we need to figure out how Social Security works first to make sure you know when to decide to claim. So the basics, the mechanics, Social Security benefits can be claimed as early as 62, and in some cases 60 or even a little bit earlier, or as late as age 70. The amount you receive each month depends on entirely when you file. Every retiree has a full retirement age, and for most people retiring today, that's 67. If you claim at your full retirement age, you'll receive your full calculated benefit. If you claim before full retirement age and your benefit is permanently reduced, claiming at 62, which is the earliest possible age, that could cut your benefit by as much as 30% compared to claiming at full retirement age. And that reduction never goes away. It's locked in. It's a very specific calculation for each month that you claim before your Social Security full retirement age. That's how they get those numbers. It's not just random. So when I say 30%, it is somewhere in there because that depends on which month and which age you file before your full retirement age. If you delay past your full retirement age, your benefit grows 8% for each year you wait up to age 70. 70 is the top tier. That's the max. Someone who's 67 and waits until 70 receives a 24% higher benefit. And you get cost of living adjustments off those base amounts along the way. So to put some real numbers to it, suppose your full retirement benefit at 67 is $2,500. You claim at 62, you might receive around $1,750. If you wait until 70, you're going to receive approximately $3,100. That's a difference of $1,350 per month or $16,000 per year for as long as you live and as long as your spouse lives, which we'll get into later. And you get a cost of living adjustment, which is a percentage. So the more amount you're receiving in Social Security, the bigger the cost of living adjustment. For married couples, it's even larger stakes because of the survivor benefit, which I just mentioned. Because when one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse gets the larger benefit. So if you're, say, older than your wife and you pass away first, your wife's going to get a larger benefit. If you take your benefit early, your spouse is going to get a smaller benefit. So that's one element that we're going to discuss a little bit more later. We're not going to go into the calculation of how Social Security is calculated. If you want to check that out, go to my YouTube channel, ProPath, PROPATH Financial, and you can see videos. Just search Social Security calculation. I have some really thorough and simple Social Security calculation videos. This podcast is basically how to decide when to take that benefit after it's calculated. So let's dive into the break-even concept. This is the most common way people utilize Social Security decisions. I've even used it a little bit too, to be honest with you, because it's all one big gamble. If you take your benefit early and you pass away early, you probably win. If you wait to take your benefit and you pass away early, you lose. If you wait to take your benefit and you live long, you win big. So the most common way the Social Security timing decision gets explained is through the break-even analysis, and it's pretty straightforward. But when we're trying to compare between claiming 67 versus 70, in the break-even age, where it falls is somewhere between 80 and 82. You live past that, like I said, it's better. If you die early, it's worse. So the break-even analysis isn't everything because there are a lot of factors, a lot of risks that come into play that need to be evaluated until we make that decision. Depends, how long did you live? What was your benefit? Are you married? What's your spouse's benefit? And a lot of these other different variables that we're going to discuss here in a second. Your health, your portfolio, your income needs, your behaviors, your goals. These are all different questions. They all have different answers. They all need to be asked in the evaluation of when you should be taking your Social Security benefit. So let's dive into those risks now. If you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe, comment, and share to anyone where you think this is valuable. If you're coming into Social Security decisions soon, you need to really be aware of when to take it and how. Please let anyone know that needs to make these decisions that this podcast exists. Like, subscribe, share. So let's go into risk factor 1. To make the best decision on when to take Social Security, we're going to go through a few risk factors like we just discussed. So the first one is mortality risk. This is the most basic. Delaying only pays off if you live long enough to reach and surpass the the break even. Goodness. If you live long enough past the break even, delaying really pays off. Again, if you pass away at that point, delaying was mathematically a loss. For a retiree in excellent health with strong family longevity, mortality risk is relatively low compared to the population and probably doesn't change the analysis much. But for someone managing a serious health condition or whose family's history suggests a shorter life expectancy, mortality risk is a real factor that can be meaningful in the claiming early discussion. Now, none of us knows exactly how long we're going to live. But a good planner and a good strategist can model the decision across a range of life expectancy scenarios to see where it makes the most sense. The next risk factor is called sequence of returns risk. When a retiree delays Social Security, they typically draw more from their investment accounts to reach their income needs. That investment portfolio is subject to something called sequence of returns risk, in which the market performs poorly in those first few years of retirement. Increased early withdrawals amplifies your sequence of returns risk because you're taking larger withdrawals from your portfolio because you're delaying Social Security, and the danger that a market downturn could present in the early years of retirement could permanently change the long-term sustainability of your portfolio. So if you're trying to delay your Social Security, you got to use your portfolio more. So you got to make sure to balance the usage of those two elements that provide your income in retirement. So just an illustration. If a retiree needed $5,000 a month and delays Social Security from 67 to 70, they're pulling the full $5,000 or $60,000 a year from the portfolio over 3 or 4 years. If the market drops and struggles significantly during that window, then your withdrawals, or the portfolio, I should say, takes a hit that can be difficult to recover from. Now, retirees with large portfolios and modest withdrawal rates, the risk is manageable. So your portfolio is very large, but your spending is very small. The withdrawal rates from the portfolio are a lot smaller. So it's easier to recover from. But for retirees with smaller portfolios and large withdrawal needs, which I run into often, we have to plan and prepare for this. So we need to do a couple things. One, make sure Social Security really matters in delaying and lasting longer in life. But also, we need to plan and prepare your portfolio to reduce portions of the portfolio's risk. So if the market takes a downturn, you can still cover the income needs while the market responds until Social Security kicks in. So withdrawal rate from the portfolio matters in as far as you're delaying Social Security and you're using Social Security to supplement income. The reason I say this is because some people take Social Security and they don't even really need it. Some of my clients are in that situation right now. Risk factor 3 is policy risk. Social Security's long-term finances have been a very popular topic for the past few years. Now, this is not to scare you, which most people in the media do. This is just to help you understand what could come down the pipe if there are no changes. The program's trustees, Social Security program trustees, have projected that without any changes, legislative changes to the Social Security, the trust fund could face depletion within the next decade or so, which could result in a benefit reduction of around 20 to 25%. So if there's no intervention, your benefit is reduced, not eliminated. That's what they're trying to tell you. That's what they're scaring you with, but just reduced. Whether and how Congress would act is genuinely uncertain. A few ways they could do this is changing the full retirement age. Another way they could do this is increasing the amount that is contributed into the Social Security Trust Fund on an annual basis. They could change how many years are into the calculation. They could adjust the calculation. They could adjust the inflation adjustments. There's a variety of things that they could do. They could change the early withdrawal rate or the early withdrawal age from 62 to maybe 65. Who knows? There's a variety of things that they could do. So we plan and prepare potentially for the reduction in the future. At least I do. So policy risk comes into play about when you decide to take your Social Security benefit. If it's really, really scaring you, maybe taking early. If it's not as scary, delaying still matters, because even if the benefits are reduced, everyone's benefits are going to reduce, but you'll still get the increase until age 70. But we just need to be aware that the policy risk matters in the claiming decision. All right, before we go into the next risk, if you've listened this far, we're 12 minutes in, you're enjoying what I'm saying. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow us, because there's going to be podcasts coming out each week that help you navigate retirement, and give a review, especially on Apple. A really high quality 5-star review always helps. So we're going to go into more of a behavioral, not financial risk. It's not numbers related, but it matters. It's regret, or regret risk, as I like to call it. It's the emotional cost of feeling like you made the wrong decision in hindsight. I have a 77-year-old client. He took his Social Security at 62 because he was concerned that it wouldn't be there. Remember, we just talked about that before with policy risk? Well, it's definitely there, and he could have waited and gotten a lot more income if he would have waited. Plus, he worked a few more years that could have dropped off some lower earning years, which would have increased his benefit amount in the calculation. This client potentially feels some regret. On the other end of the spectrum, their regret for taking too early. On the other end of the spectrum is a retiree who delays to 70 and pass away at 74. They may still feel some regret, but if their wife was living, their wife's going to get the larger benefit. For some people, the regret is associated with one of the outcomes, thinking that it's far worse than the other. There's kind of an asymmetry in how people view the outcomes. They think that they should have taken their benefit early because the one now doesn't provide enough, or they think that they should have waited so they could have gotten a larger benefit later, or anything in between. But just know, if you plan and prepare and you take the benefit that aligns most with your retirement goals, you're going to reduce your risk of regret the most. Okay, now we're going to talk about health span risk. So before we talk about lifespan, how long you're going to live, but we're going to talk about health span, the quality of the years that you live. A retiree might live to 88, but have their most active, enjoyable years concentrated in their early 60s and 70s. So maybe they're living, but they're not living the highest quality of life, which we've seen that people live into their 80s or late 80s, and they're not doing a whole lot the last 10 or 15 years. So the go-go years when they can travel, pursue hobbies, and spend freely are early on. Research really shows that retirement spending tends to decline in real terms as people age and their physical capacity changes. So it's not uncommon that later in life you're going to spend less. It's when people later in life need to spend a ton of money right in the last couple of years for maybe late life care in some capacity. That's where it really kicks up. But their daily spending, travel spending, discretionary spending usually decreases. For a retiree whose active years may be more limited, whether due to current health challenges or simply personal circumstances, the value of a higher Social Security income at age 82 may be genuinely less meaningful than the same income at 66. It's a real consideration to think, oh, maybe we should take it at 67, get this thing started, because I'm not going to need as much withdrawals later in life. So let's just get this thing going and get it running. There's no reason to delay. Now we're going to talk about the underspending risk. So this one kind of connects to something we discussed in the previous episodes where we talked about spending, the consumption gap about 2 weeks ago. Go back and check out that episode if you want to, which is the tendency of many retirees to underspend. A lot of my clients are going to underspend. Their portfolios are going to outgrow their spending. They built really high quality portfolios because they've kept their personal life costs low and they've really invested and saved well. The tendency of many retirees to underspend is particular to when they rely on their portfolio withdrawals rather than their guaranteed income. So research suggests that retirees who have a larger guaranteed income stream spend more freely and enjoy retirement more fully. They feel the permission to spend that a predictable monthly check provides. For a retiree who is already prone to holding back, who feels anxious about drawing down from investments, extending your Social Security period can make that pattern worse. Getting a guaranteed Social Security check started sooner may actually improve retirement quality of life. It's a legitimate benefit, even if it doesn't show up in a traditional break even spreadsheet that we like to talk about in the advisory world. So it's really finding a balance between how you spend. Maybe you like the consistent income because you lost your income from your job. Getting that started, managing the withdrawal rates later could be something that's more valuable to you just to make you feel a little bit comfortable as you work through your spending in retirement. Okay, let's go over two examples of how risk factors play out. Example one, Margaret is 65. She's in excellent health. She has parents who live into their late 80s. She has a $2 million portfolio, a comfortable withdrawal rate, and genuinely enjoys spending in retirement. For Margaret, the risk factors are very modest. Mortality risk is low. Sequence of returns risk is manageable given her portfolio size. She doesn't have a strong underspending tendency. For Margaret, the conventional wisdom holds. Delay to 70 could be the right call. The higher lifetime income and the compounding cost of living adjustments deliver a larger real value over her lifespan. She, in theory, exceeds the break-even point. She lives a little bit longer. She spends a lot more. That's a very simple Social Security example. Now we just got to navigate the income and spending until Social Security kicks on. That's where good, high quality financial planning and asset management comes into play. Example two is, let's say James is 63. He just retired and he's been managing health problems for several years. His family history doesn't suggest super strong longevity. His portfolio is $500,000 and his spending needs require a withdrawal rate of about 12% of his portfolio. This is common. This situation that I'm mentioning to you is not an uncommon situation. If he was to delay, he would be very vulnerable to a bad market. He also tends to underspend when relying on the portfolio and would feel much more comfortable with a guaranteed income stream. For James, the risk factors are substantial. Mortality, sequence of returns, regret, potential underspending. Well, underspending would be the least one, but maybe a little bit of overspending too. Claiming earlier, perhaps not at 62, but definitely not waiting to 70, maybe generally more appropriate choice for a situation. And I guess in my example, that's kind of weird. I talked over myself. I said James is 63. So obviously he hasn't taken it yet. He's 63. So what if he started taking it? So just, I know I said 62, but it's just important to evaluate each person separately as they make their Social Security decision. You can't look at everyone the same way in a vacuum and say, just go to 70. Just go to 70. That's not how it always works out. Okay, as we start to wind this thing down, I promise you we talk about some good reasons to claim early. First of which is a serious health condition or shortened life expectancy. There's no reason to wait to 70 if you're only going to live for a few years. I mean, obviously, we don't know when we're going to pass away, but if you really don't think you're going to be able to last into your 80s or 90s, maybe getting on it right away is a valuable tool for you. Another way is you need the income now. You have no additional income because if you start taking Social Security early, it could that benefit could be reduced by any additional income that you're making. So taking the income now because you don't have any additional income could be a very valuable tool for you. Next, you could have no other assets and Social Security is your primary income. It's not an ideal situation, but you have been working throughout your life a little bit, but you just don't have a ton saved. Taking Social Security could be a great tool for you. Just start it up and just run it as long as you can and try to live the best life that you can. Uh, Another reason is you have a strong desire to work less or retire now. If you're just kind of done with it and you want your assets to grow a little bit more and defer a little bit longer, you could take Social Security if it helps the assets grow and give you income later in life. The bottom line on claiming early is there are some reasons where it makes sense. We talked about some reasons to be aware of on delaying, but some reasons to take it now really come to fruition if you think that your life will be better by claiming now. And we can't forget married couples. The higher earner's decision has an outsized impact. And the person who they think is going to live longer is going to have a big impact. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but the delaying decision, if you're married, doesn't always apply to the spouse that has the larger benefit. In most cases, it's an older man that has a larger benefit for a younger spouse. If that man passes away early and they delayed, the spouse will get that larger benefit as they sail off into the sunset themselves. If you take an earlier benefit, you're reducing down the amount that the spouse will receive on two fronts. If you take an earlier benefit, you're reducing down the potential 50% benefit that your spouse will receive as a spousal benefit, but you're also reducing down the amount that the spouse will receive later in life if they outlive you. Married couples have a different calculation as they work together to maximize these benefits because they're both going to be receiving some sort of Social Security benefit. The spouse is going to be receiving either the spousal benefit or their own benefit if they have a high enough earnings record. So that's something to be aware of. All right, let's summarize everything. Social Security is one of the very few financial instruments available to retirees that simultaneously hedges against the three biggest risks of retirement: longevity risks, inflation risks, and poor investment returns. On longevity, the longer retiree lives past the break even, the more advantageous the delay becomes, and it compounds over time. On inflation, Social Security's cost of living adjustments are applied to the full benefit amount each year. A higher base benefit means a larger nominal cost of living adjustment every year for your life. Over a 25-year retirement and an average inflation of 3%, the difference between a benefit of $2,500 and $3,100 per month compounds into very large different amounts of purchasing power. And lastly, on poor investment returns, if markets perform poorly in the early years of retirement, as they sometimes do, Social Security's guaranteed income provides a stable floor that doesn't fluctuate with the portfolio. The higher that floor, the more resilient the overall retirement income picture is to a market downturn. In this sense, Social Security functions as a hedge that pays off most in exactly the scenarios most harmful to a retirement portfolio. For retirees in good health, with strong family longevity, manageable withdrawal rates, and the financial flexibility to fund a delay period, the case for waiting remains extremely compelling. And the conventional wisdom isn't wrong for this group. It's just not universally accurate for everyone. So here's what I hope you take away from today. The Social Security claim decision is very impactful. It's very personal, and there's no coming back from it. Once the decision is made, the decision is made. So it's a very, very important decision. A more complete analysis that looks at your specific situation can really make sure that you reduce regret and make your portfolio be happier because of your good Social Security decision. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My contact information is below. Thanks for listening. Next week, we're going to talk about how you're going to live in retirement. Thanks for listening or thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.